Good evening and welcome on a Tuesday night to Loud and Nerdy. Hi, Joe. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Joe Ridgely.
He was there before we even started.
Yeah, he's always
prompt and courteous.
He's always right there. Welcome to Loud and Nerdy on Tuesday night. My name is JW Colwell. I'm joined as always by Kyle Defina and Jerry Kamora of the band Slapjaw. Sorry, mine froze for a second. I started reading everybody's stuff. Disney or Mission? It's going to be both, Kyle. The question you have on your thing, Disney or Mission? It's going to be both. They're both going to be hits. Mission's at an incredible disadvantage. One, there hasn't been any kids movies out. Lilo and Stitch is going to do very well. Mission's probably going to come in second. Also, Mission's probably going to come in second because it's 2 hours and 49 minutes. So just not a number. They won't be able to get the same amount of shows they will be able to get out of Lilo and Stitch.
It's okay, Joe. You're our stalker.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Stalker.
I mean, hello, Missy. How's everything going? I didn't call you a stalker. I was more like an omnipresent demi-being. I wasn't going stalker. I was more going, Grand Poobah kind of thing. Yeah, demigod, like Maui. Anyway,
I always
different.
feel like somebody's watching me.
If you like stalkers, or if you like us, if you like Joe, if you like anything really about the Indie Escape Network, which is our young, old, united creatives, always trying to do something with the world. Please like and subscribe down the bottom to our YouTube channel. Takes you a little over 3 seconds to do it. Or our Facebook page where there's a lot of cool things going on, and the Loud and Nerdy Facebook page as well. And then also our Instagram page where that's getting all our chopped up content now. Anyway, let's start with the news that broke a little while ago, and let's get out the horribleness first. George Wendt passed away.
Ooh.
And he was 76, and I'm going to start with movie roles where George Wendt. Hello, Raven. I'm going to start with movie roles first. Good evening, Cindy. Thank you for joining us. Let's start with this one, and I know Jerry's going to get most of them. I don't know that he's going to get the one, but so George Wendt, was a very good comedic actor. He was in a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s. Not a lot, but enough. And he's known for one role, but I wanted to talk a little bit about his career where he guest starred on a ton of shows. Like, you can go down the list of the shows he guest starred on. Hot in Cleveland, Twilight Zone, Columbo, George Lopez, Fresh Off the Boat, Clipped. He was an animated voice talent to Fancy Nancy. He competed on The Masked Singer. Yeah, he did. So he had all these things, but this is a movie from that I enjoyed when I was younger. It's still very fun. It's a Michael Keaton movie. Getty Watanabe.
Love that movie.
It's a movie called Gung Ho. Hello, y'all. Hello, Lizzie Kitty Metrics. But it's a great movie. Yes, we'll get there. We'll get to Norm in a second. But I wanted to champion his other
Spoiler
projects.
alert.
I wanted to champion his other projects because I think, he's got, like, today it was like Norm died was all I saw, right? So I wanted to champion his other projects. Gung Ho was a great one. This one maybe for fans of the Spice Girls. He was in Spice World. He played a good character in Spice World. He was in this one, Jerry Kamora.
Yes, he was.
It's a movie called House from 86, 85, somewhere around there. And it's just this really fun, creepy, it's got William Catt and him, and it's about moving into a haunted house, and it's just fun. And he's really great in it. And if you're fans like I am, he was of course the beach person that was part of the drug sting that Fletch was working on. He was great in Fletch. He was kind of a guy that was addicted to substances, that was selling substances. under the forceful thumb of the chief. And so, he's great in Fletch, but he will always be remembered as Norm from Cheers. And I just think, he was a very gifted comedic actor. He went to college for it. He's also, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but he is the uncle to Jason Sudeikis. So, Jason Sudeikis has said many times that he got into comedy and he got into SNL and he did Ted Lasso and does all these things because his uncle, basically got him into comedy. And so he's been in, he did a couple of, he did Broadway plays, he did, traveling stage shows. He's survived by a wife and 3 children, and, save a seat for all of us. Rest in peace. He also, coincidentally, also on the SNL thing, there was an SNL episode in 1986 that was one of the more ridiculous episodes of all time of SNL, where director Francis Ford Coppola directed the episode with Philip Glass as the musical guest. It's odd and weird and wonderful, and it's something you should search out just because it's a weird episode of SNL where George Wendt is the host, but Francis Ford Coppola is in a director's chair above the studio the entire time. Bye Bye Birdie. Yeah, he did a lot of the TV musicals. Very gifted, a comedic actor. So rest in peace. Thanks for all the stuff. Thanks for the laughs. We appreciate you. We will miss you. And Cheers,
one of those guys that wasn't really on like the forefront of things, but everybody knows who he is.
Well, I watched a run through of I watched a run through of some of his best entrances on Cheers, and there was one that was absolutely it was when Coach was still on Cheers, and Norm comes in and he goes, "Hey Norm, what's shaking?" And he's like, four tits and 2 chins, but nobody's complaining. And I was like, just funny stuff like, obviously a bar comedy, and it's just funny. And his interactions with John Ratzenberger are the stuff of legend with regards to comedic timing and just being able to get the lines out and the jokes and hit everything. So, underrated character actor that was in a lot of solid movies that he made better. Like, he's really funny in Gung Ho. Gung Ho is fantastic. Oh, yeah. Because he plays somebody that the Japanese.
In House, he was really great in House too.
And that's the thing. Like in Gung Ho, he plays one of the bigger Americans, like the chubby Americans that the Japanese are making fun of and picking on when they take over the plants. And there's a sequence during a softball game where he literally takes out one of his bosses, and it's just he's chugging around the bases, and it's just. He doesn't stop, and Michael Keaton can watch as watching it happen, and but like I said, he was good in everything he did. So it wasn't like he's one of those character actors that we take for granted would be the word I would say, right? But
yep, it makes sense. That's fitting.
Okay, so. Let's talk box office. Box office is a good start, good thing. And somehow we're ahead of where we were in 2024, mainly because this movie opened to $51 million over the weekend. The weekend's movie, Hurry Up Tomorrow, that we told you about, opened to 3. And then everything else kind of just dropped the place. So it was Final Destination, followed by The Thunderbolts, followed by Sinners, followed by Minecraft, which is still bumping around. And basically, Final Destination Bloodlines is a monster hit. The largest record held opening 2009 Final Destination, 27 million. Even if you adjust for inflation, it's 41 million. So it beat the any of the highest ones, even with inflation, by $10 million. So it's just a huge opening.
Can't complain about horror flicks doing well.
Well, it cost $50 million to make. It made $51 million in the States, and then in 74 overseas territories, it made another $51 million exactly, for a global start of $102 million for a movie that cost $50 million to make. That nobody was kind of like expecting to be good. It got a B+ cinema score, which is very high for horror films. It's also at 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's not like Clown and Cornfield, where Clown and Cornfield went down. But it's got a lot going on. It's a reasonably well done, fun little horror film. It doesn't cure cancer or do anything, but it has gruesome kills, a great setup. Theoretically, it could retcon the entire franchise, although the directors are now shying away from it, which I think is not smart. I think they should say we retcon the entire franchise, and they can, because if they want to make a sequel, they could just go back to the bloodline that's set up. But they've kind of shot away from it, like that they don't want to be responsible. But it's got Grand Guignol set up. This is the one in the tattoo parlor. This is from the book that the girl brings home from her grandmother, where basically she's kept track of all the obituaries from that night. Sorry, that was getting ahead of ourselves. But the key thing, and I don't, Jerry, when you get to see it, this guy is in it. It's his last role. And as the weekend progressed out, when I saw it on opening night, Jerry, people were clapping and cheering when he came on. And then I found out over the weekend that that the dialogue wasn't given to him. He wrote his own dialogue. So it has even more, an aura to it, because it's very, it's a really great send off. And he's like, I have cancer and I'm dying, but I'm going to go out and enjoy the rest of my life before, I'm going to enjoy friends and family. And but he wrote it himself. The directors brought it out that he wrote it himself. So he got, in the screening I was at, he got a clap. And then the movie is dedicated to the memory of Tony Todd. So that also got a clap. And then I told Kyle, and like I said, I think it's one of the better reboot cools we've had, because it's having fun. Yeah, first off, his voice is so melodic, and he was clearly sick here. So it's still got the tonal quality, the low pitch that he had as Candyman and all the movies he starred in, but it's a little bit raspy, and it's just ever so. Hello, Missy. Yes, that's another thing that kind of came swelling out of it. The idea that the Oscars forgot him is kind of a big blunder by the Oscars. But every year we have somebody, but I just wish it wasn't him. Anyway, movie itself is great. Lots of fun. Doing very well, and we'll see. The interesting thing is that this particular weekend, as we're looking at it, this puts us back on track. This is an interesting thing. So, Warner Brothers, by the way, had 3 movies in the top 5, with Final Destination, Sinners, and Minecraft. Sinners at the end of the weekend is at $240.8 million, $76 million internationally. So it's over $300 million for a original IP vampire movie with an all-black cast. Pretty amazing, pretty incredible. Minecraft movie added another $5 million to the till. So it's grossed $416 million in North America, 501 overseas, for well over $900 million. Hurry Up Tomorrow bombed, but that's fine. Thunderbolts finally slid to second, 16.5. It only declined 50% from its prior week, so that's pretty good. It's grossed 155 and 325 globally. So it's.
I want to go see it a second time tonight.
You did?
Yeah, I went to go see Thunderbolts a second time.
It's a good movie. It's well done. It's I've seen it twice, and I've enjoyed it both times, and I think it's gonna age well. Also, so let's talk about box office. So we always talk about theaters. We talk about what's happened with theaters. So far, May releases have improved upon last year in terms of ticket sales, but we haven't met the pre-pandemic 2019. So we're 15% ahead of 2024, but 32% behind 2019. But as we're going to talk about later, that is all coming to an end, because we're gonna have at least 4 movies over 10 million this upcoming weekend, at least over a certain amount, and they're all different demographics. For example, Final Destination doesn't necessarily play into the same demographic as Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible doesn't play into the demographic of Lilo and Stitch, so you could have a perfect storm of a weekend where a Memorial Day weekend, like old days, like an old day Memorial Day weekend, where all of these movies not only feed off of each other, but they like all the boats get raised because everybody's at a theater this weekend. You know what I mean? And in addition to enjoying the holiday and doing whatever. Good evening, Ken McKernan. You're late tonight, but that's okay. I won't hold it against you. I know you're screwing around with stuff, so I got you. But so it's a good thing. We're in a good spot. Everything's going well. And they're expecting huge grosses out of Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch this weekend, which should continue to get us in the right direction towards 2019, which is pre-COVID. That's the goal. This is the summer. Last year we didn't have any product in the pipeline because of the strike. This is the summer where maybe we get everything back on track. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there are some promising things coming out, so
it'll be July that puts everything over the top with the Superman Fantastic Four.
I think we're forgetting about something in July. I think it's not only going to be Superman and Fantastic Four. I think Jurassic World is going to be awesome. I think Rebirth is going to be.
They usually do well anyway.
They do well anyway, even if they're garbage. Even if they're even Jurassic Park 3 did a ton of business. But there is something about this trailer that dropped yesterday. Scarlett Johansson fighting like pterodactyls, and Scarlett Johansson fighting a giant. She looks like she's Quint, hanging off the side of the fucking boat, fighting the giant dinosaur. And Scarlett Johansson, Scarlett Johansson. The interesting story about Scarlett Johansson is every time they made a new Jurassic Park movie, she has told her agents, "I want in. I don't care what I'm playing. I want in. I want to be in a Jurassic World movie." And now she's the lead of a Jurassic World movie, and I think it has potential. I don't know if it's going to be number 1 for the summer, but it is going to be in the top 3 or 4. Just because those movies make money. They grind money out. People love dinosaurs, man, and they love scary dinosaurs more than anything. Nobody wants a happy dinosaur. Nobody went to see Baby.
Well, and people like dinosaur. Superman too.
People do like Superman.
I saw a poll on TikTok. Who's the best superhero? By far, most people said Superman.
That's interesting because he usually loses to Batman or Spider-Man. Recently, go ahead. What?
I was wondering if you wanted to give your comments on the Superman trailer that dropped.
Oh, I could do that too.
Since we're talking about Superman, I mean, natural segue there.
There is a natural segue. The trailer's awesome. The trailer and the new poster I'm more jazzed about than I was for the first one. I think the first poster is gorgeous. The look up poster is
too much angst in Superman for me.
There's not the. What do you mean? No.
He seems a little angry.
He angry is fine. Angry is okay.
No.
Yes, angry is fine.
No, I want the apple pie eating.
Okay, so this is the first poster. I love this poster. I have this poster already. But this poster, this is gorgeous. This poster is amazing to me. So trailer, I'll give you a couple things that stood out for me since we're talking about 4-day predictions for Leo and Stitch.
Drop them in the comments. Let's see them later.
Yeah. Drop them in, but let's not put them up until we do our own predictions. Just we'll save it for the end when we do the preview for the week, the new week.
The second Superman poster looked a little too AI generated for me. Like
what?
The face
Jesus Christ! This is like the Thing all over again. This is like the Thing all over again. Oh, what I will say, okay. So the trailer opens with Lois interviewing Clark as Superman. The key to the trailer for me is that the kid has it, right? We haven't seen him talk. We haven't seen him act like Superman. We haven't seen him talk trash. We haven't seen him do anything. Yes, Alan Tudyk has another run back. He does have a long neck. But what I would say is, I think where the trailer really works for me, first off, if they're going with the concept that Lois knows he's Superman, that's a completely different take than we've had already. We haven't had a take on big screen where Lois knows he's Superman. We've had, Margot Kidder trying to figure it out. We've had Amy Adams finding out midway through, but we've never had it where she knows, right? And the old Superman movies, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies that I grew up on, were based on that she didn't know, right? So, it's an interesting concept. My key moment of the trailer, and he's not angsty and he's not angry, but the key moment of the trailer for me is when they start the interview. When she asks him a question, the controversial question, and she starts with Superman, and he leans up, puts the chest out, and he says, "Miss Lane," in a completely different voice. So that tells me that James Gunn has got out of this actor that Superman and Clark are different. And there's going to be a choice. It's the Kill Bill choice. Is Superman, or is Superman what Clark Kent is? Clark Kent what Superman thinks of us, right? There's the two dichotomies of who's the real person. And the reason I think you're getting angst or anger is because he's legitimately angered that he stopped a war and people are bitching about it. The idea that he stopped a war and people are going, well, fuck, why'd he stop the war? The war should have went on. And his take on it is, I can do that and I will do that. And it was the right thing to do. So people didn't die. I have no problem with him being angsty. He understands the nuances. Yes, TJ. There is a key, that voice change when he leans forward and says, Miss Lane, and it's just strong and it's perfect. He also has a second line of dialogue in the movie that is absolutely perfect. I think it's when he's fighting the kaiju. It would be my guess, but there's a clip in the movie where he flies up and he's like, eyes up here. And he's calling it out, whatever he's fighting. I don't know what he's fighting. Also, the robot sequences are pretty cool. The villains, we know we have several villains in the movie. We know what's gonna. Also, I keep on saying it, and I'm gonna continue to say it. Who's a good boy? Crypto's a good boy. He protects the Fortress of Solitude. He's a big good boy. I'm so excited about Crypto. I can't even tell you. I was talking to Rich about this, but there's a video online of James Gunn showing his rescue dog, the Crypto sequences, and Crypto is based on James Gunn's rescue dog. So it's a great video of James Gunn watching the movie or watching the trailer and the dog kind of jumping like, huh, that's me. I'm that dog. That's me. That dog's on screen. I'm on screen. It's great. I can't recommend it enough to go out and watch it. Other things. What villains are we getting? Are we getting Ultraman, the Mephisto, the Metamorpho, the concept that James Gunn is nuanced. We see Metamorpho's son. Yes. I'm trying to stay away from the toy leaks, though, TJ. Crypto is premium. He really is. He's going to, he has his own Milkbone commercial already. But what I would also say about the trailer, there's a sequence where Metamorpho is apparently he builds kryptonite out of his hands. Now, what this suggests to me as a nuanced comic book reader is Metamorpho has never really done that in the comic books. But Superman fans and people who read Superman comics have looked at that for years and said, why hasn't Metamorpho done that? And so James Gunn is smart enough to go, hey, I'm going to play around with things. I'm going to have a good time. Other highlights of the trailer. Let's see. The action looks good. The special effects look top notch. He looks great flying. Everything looks cool. I would also say the two standouts, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois. Going to be the best Lois of our lifetimes. And then the other main component is Nicholas Hoult as Lex. They kind of do a tease that maybe Lex is president. I don't think he is yet, but he could be at some point. Frank Grillo is playing Rick Flag Sr. He's in the trailer. They make a comment that the Defense Department head is interested in you, and they cut to a scene of him, and then they make another comment. You spoke for the president, or you made it look like you were speaking for the president, and they cut to Lex. I don't know what go. Nicholas Hoult, though, looks so fucking good as Lex that I think we're going to come out of it. Lex has never been done properly on screen for the level of villain he is in the comics and other Superman material, right? I love Gene Hackman, but Gene Hackman's Lex is obsessed with real estate and is crafty and nefarious, but he's hanging out with Otis and Miss Tessmacher. It's not great. Miss Tessmacher, right? So that Lex has never been, he's dangerous. He has kryptonite, he kills people and he does bad things. Yes, there's a moment where Nicholas Hoult says he is getting all of the talk of the world, and he is not a man, he's an it. It's the greatest Lex line in modern film at this point. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate Spacey as Lex. I thought he did a good job. I don't hate Gene Hackman's Lex, although it's not the terrifying Lex that was on like the Adventures of Superman show with Clancy Brown playing Lex, or even Smallville, where the Lex on Smallville was demonic at the end. Like he became a Lex. So I think Nicholas Holt's Lex, that I just won't allow it, is what he says, something along those lines. Like I just can't have it, or I just can't accept that Superman is the talk of the world. That is something that there has not been inherent. Hawkgirl and Green Lantern, a cameo in Peacemaker season 2. Yep. That's another thing that brings in the Mr. Terrific coming out. Fantastic. Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, using Green Lantern properly in the trailer. Guy Gardner has a sequence where a bunch of people are rushing at him and he just kind of flips a hand up and pushes them all away and just keeps on walking. It leads me to believe, from everything in this trailer, first off, I was giddy listening to the trailer. Also, anytime it hits the John Williams music, I get incredibly nostalgic and my heart just kind of weeps. And it's like, I just can't wait to get to July 11th. But also what I would say is it leads me to believe that James Gunn understands it. He knows what Superman stands for. And like I said, I disagree with your take that he's angry or angsty. I think he's the hero we need. Smallville Lex is the best part of that show. Let's ignore the sex cult stuff. Eek. I wasn't even talking about that. I was mainly focusing on the Lex. I don't want to get into the sex cult stuff. But the trailer is great. What did you think of the trailer? Because you're a tougher sell than I am. I'm an easy sell. I have Superman shit on my walls.
You're an easy sell. You're a Mark. I mean, and I'm almost want to ask you if you think you're setting yourself up with such a high bar for this. No. I mean, you're living off nostalgia with the soundtrack because they're using the original soundtrack. They're kind
They're
of doing a
using the
throwback
best
with the
soundtrack
posters.
Superman's ever had.
Exactly, but
Okay.
is that just bringing out your nostalgia and putting your hopes a lot higher? That
I would
we
agree
might
with
not
you,
be able to meet that.
I would agree with you, except let's go through James Gunn's oeuvre, right? Let's talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Really, JW, question if James Gunn would get no, but that's not the problem, Raven. The problem is that I had no problem thinking James Gunn would get Superman because I've seen the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But Superman is not an easy thing for our world right now to get. He is like he was saying, apple pie and American flag and Truth, Justice, and the American Way and all that other stuff. That is not an easy character for the audience to get. So, from my take, is that any director that makes a Superman movie has to trick the audience. They have to trick the audience into going, he's not lame because he's a Boy Scout. He's cool because he's a Boy Scout. He's cool because he's different from everybody else. I've always been a Superman. I've been a Superman mark since.
That's a good thing.
I've been a Superman mark since '78. I still have the kryptonite. I still have the kryptonite that they sold at the theater that my dad ran. I still have the kryptonite. It glows in the dark. It looks just like the green. It's a little green piece of kryptonite. Came in a box. You bought it when you went to the concession stand. I still have it. So yeah, I'm a mark. I'm a huge Superman mark. Christopher Reeve and the first two Superman movies are something. He's not going to turn Superman into Star-Lord. He has other characters he can play with
but
Guy Gardner has a good potential to turn into Star-Lord.
No pun intended, but I really hope Gunn sticks to his guns though and doesn't let the powers that be at Warner Brothers influence it too, because that's such a drag down.
Well, the interesting thing is Warner Brothers. There's two stories. Like, first off, the idea that Warner Brothers has 3 of the top 5 movies in the country right now, and they have 2 of the biggest hits of the year with Sinners and Minecraft, and now Final Destination. That does take a little bit of the pressure off of Superman, just a little bit. It's still one of the most important DCU movie release of all time by far, because we've given them so many chances. But the interesting thing, you make comments. I'm always worried about Zaslav. I am always worried about that man. This week we had Max turning back to HBO Max because somehow the bean counters at Warner Brothers figured out that HBO means something. My favorite thing about the trailer is Super Dark Crypto. There are a lot more things I really enjoyed about the trailer. I'm very excited. I think it's going to be amazing. Yeah, Crypto is he's set. Crypto.
So good posters, nostalgic movie, and a dog that you all love, and everyone's hooked.
Well, it's not just that, but it's not just that. Like, again, this is a Lex Luthor we have never seen. We've always seen.
I mean, Jerry's down there doing his best Lex Luthor face right now.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about, like, I get the dog thing, but doesn't it make it kind of campy?
The Crypto, sure. But people love that.
I guess it depends on what you're going for with the movie. Like, you have this real.
But some would say, right.
Like,
I would
element to it.
I can see a lot of his recipes in the other characters placed in the movie, so I understand the worry. But here's the thing: I think yes, Crypto could be campy, but so could Rocket Raccoon, right? A raccoon that likes guns. It is a ridiculous on its premise, and he turned him into a real character.
Yeah, he's not a raccoon.
It's, by the way, Missy, it's KRYPTO, Crypto.
Speak to text. It doesn't know it.
Yeah, no, but also but Crypto is, we don't want him associated with any bad meme coins. It's the same place Marvel is. They both have these movies right. Fantastic Four flop before, and so Superman. Again,
I disagree with that completely, because Marvel just got it so right with Thunderbolts, and it didn't have to be a major character that they turned it around and got it right with. If this does not get Superman right, DC could be done.
Again, it won't be done. But what I would say to you is there's enough there's enough pressure on James Gunn to get it right, and I think threading the needle is going to be very important. But I also think
what's been the best DC property in the last 5 years? Peacemaker.
It's Peacemaker, Creature Commandos, somewhere in there. They're both, you know what I mean.
Or the Cape Crusade that they sold to Prime.
Well, yeah, but that's different. Like,
it's still DC though.
It's DC, but like they sold that. They let it go. It was you tell speak to text that. I will try. But it's Crypto KRY. Anyway, I'm just trying to. I don't want to associate with any bad meme coins. Anyway, I think the way I get the idea.
By Doge.
No, the way I get the idea that they have it is the Corn Sweat performance. His performance is the most important in the movie, but Brosnahan is right. Holt is right. If they get all of them right, that's all they need. Suicide Squad, maybe the second one. But again, these are all James Gunn.
But when did Suicide Squad come out? I said the last 5 years. Isn't Suicide Squad longer than that now?
No, Suicide Squad.
Right?
No, we're not talking about the bad original Suicide Squad, right? We're not talking about the one with the horrible Joker.
Okay, so the last one that came out in 21. So yeah, okay, we're in 4 years now.
Yeah, and then that's where we got that Suicide Squad produced Peacemaker. Peacemaker is, kind of led Gunn to getting the job to run DC. And then Creature Commandos, if you haven't watched Creature Commandos on HBO Max, is it HBO Max now? If you haven't watched Creature Commandos on HBO Max, I suggest you watch it. It's really good. It's fun. That's more Gunn style.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's HBO. If I think of Max, I'm thinking Skinamax at 1 o'clock in the morning,
Well, the interesting thing to me is it was HBO Max.
Or like 11 p.m.
It was definitely 11 p.m. and it was always swirling things. HBO became HBO Max, became Max, and it's now back to HBO Max. And that is because David Zaslav is the stupidest head of a studio ever. It's like we've had dumb studio heads.
But then you're also saying he's got 3 of the top 5 movies this year so far.
It's not him. He has nothing to do with it. He makes widgets. He has no to put it in perspective how bad things are. And this is something that Rich sent me before the show, minutes before the show. S&P downgrades Warner Brothers Discovery to junk bond status on weak credit metrics. That could get worse if the company splits. Just so we're clear, S&P stock market dropped Warner Bros. Discovery to BB plus status, basically, which is junk bond status. Because Zaslav
not giving any legal trading advice. Please consult an accountant before making any trades.
But what this means is, it means that even if he because he saddled the HBO premiere, the HBO grandeur with fucking Naked and Afraid and all that fucking dumb shit that's on HBO Max, because he saddled a pristine instrument, one of the greatest studios in the history of film, with being in the same boat as like a renovation show where people are divorced and they're fighting over a renovation. He is completely kind of like submerged. And now he's trying to sell things off. He's trying to do like piecemeal, like Peacock did with and Universal Comcast did with MSNBC, and he's trying to sell off piecemeal. But if they sell off pieces, he might lose money. So he's a disaster. He got really lucky. Okay, I don't think it's going to flop. I think but I do agree with Kyle that if it does flop, this is going to be in trouble, especially on the hill. Joker doesn't even count. Joker doesn't even count. I'm going to be honest with everybody here. Joker doesn't count. It was so bad that nobody is going to hold that. Well, first off, it wasn't against Gunn. And secondly, it was so bad and everybody knew it was bad. And they just continue to just go, we're going to go with it. And, and that's also last year. So we don't care right now. Warner Bros. Is having a good year movie wise. They're again ahead of the curve. But I just think if you watch the trailer, Holt gets Lex right, Brosnahan gets Lois right, and Cornsweet with the chest and Miss Lane. Just watch the trailer again. The nuance of, do you want to do it? You want to do the interview as Superman? Yeah, sure. He sits down, he's like relaxing backwards, and then she says, "Okay, we'll start the interview." Puts tape down, sits forward, chest out. I'm telling you, watch the trailer, watch the nuances. Watch the nuances, and believe me, I just, and this poster is great. I don't care what anybody says. This is a great poster because it's all on the kid. The kid has to be Superman. He has to be Superman. So
yes, Joker 2 was Elseworld, not current DC.
Yeah, same as the Batman. Although there are rumors that Gunn is kind of getting into the idea of putting Pattinson with Cornsweet because they've apparently at least talked that out, that the Batman Part 2 will be part of the DCU, but also they don't know if they're going to do that, right? They would like the Batman Part 2 to be Elseworlds, and then they would get to pick their own Batman because, again, Batman was ahead of Gunn coming in, and lots of rumors on who they want for Batman. I'm putting it out there right now. I'll take Alan Ritchson from Reacher. Let's go. Let's just have a Batman that's bigger and stronger and meaner than everybody else. What else? What else do we got tonight? Let's talk about this.
Oh,
go ahead. What?
I did see a teaser for the Godzilla Kong movie that's going to be coming out in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Supernova.
Yes. Did you call the number?
What number?
So in the teaser, embedded in the teaser.
Oh, I didn't see that part of it.
Embedded in the teaser, there's an 800 number. If you call it, you can report kaiju sightings. Fun, really fun, hilarious. My nephew's got they are such big fans of that franchise that they're so excited. But we looked down at the date and they were like, "That's 2 years away. That's a long time, right?"
Yeah. It just reminded me of "You Don't Have to Be Alone Tonight. Pick up the phone." Just reminded me of that.
Let's talk about this before we get too far ahead. This show ended last week on Disney Plus. Andor, directed by Tony Gilroy, produced by Kathleen Kennedy, starring Diego Luna. And I just, he did. I know he played it here on Titans. I got it, but I want to see him as. I would like to see him as Batman. He's openly asking for it. Anyway. Andor ended, and what I want to say to people is, if you don't like Star Wars, or if you're scared of Star Wars, because some people are, and to be honest, Star Wars fans recently have been kind of dickish at best. Welcome to Derry is another trailer that landed this week. I don't know how I feel about it. I watched the trailer. It's got Pennywise, but if we know that it takes place in 62, are we going to fall in love with all these characters in 62 Derry, Maine, and they're all going to die? Because we know Pennywise doesn't lose until he meets the Losers Club, right? Yeah, it's just I don't know. I would have liked to seen I don't know what I would have liked to see. I don't know if I need to see it. But it's Warner Brothers. See, that's the bad side of Warner Brothers, where they kind of just process stuff out. But they lucked out. Final Destination ended up being good. They gave it to two young directors. The screenplay, screenplay is, interesting screenplay, fun. But I want to talk about Andor for a second. And just, if you're afraid of Star Wars, if you feel Star Wars fans are assholes, and they are sometimes, I am not going to lie. Star Wars fans recently have become very angry and bitter, and they hate the prequels, or they hate the new sequels, or they hate whatever, and Disney ruined Star Wars, and all this other stuff. I'm going to tell you right now that Rogue One and Andor are really great, and Andor, as a prequel to Rogue One, the 2 seasons of Andor are near perfect television. The second season of Andor, leading into Rogue One, I'll get back to that. Hold that comment. this show was released in three-part segments. So literally for the entire month of April, we got a new Star Wars movie every month because they ran about 2.5 hours. They dealt with different years leading up to Rogue One, and I will say to you that they created new characters that were minor characters became major characters. I'm looking at you, Mon Mothma. Congratulate! Like Mon Mothma was a action figure I had, and had 3 seconds in Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? Like she's in Return of the Jedi for 3 seconds, and she's a little bit in New Hope. But Andor made her a fully realized character. I would love for you to experience Andor. He's not writing or approved the show for Derry. But Andor is a must watch if you like good television. It's some of the best television, and then you couple that with some of the best Star Wars television and some of the best Star Wars that's ever been produced. I'm talking original trilogy, even Return of the Jedi. But it's not Empire and it's not Star Wars, but it's as close to the originals as we've ever had. And not a lot of lightsabers or anything. It's all about fighting the Empire and what are you willing to do. It very much has the beating heart of Sean Connery and the Untouchables. What are you prepared to do? They bring a gun, or they bring a knife, you bring a gun. You send one of his to the hospital, send one of his to the morgue. It's very much in that mindset, and it's so well written, so well done. I want to thank Tony Gilroy and Kathleen Kennedy for giving it to Star Wars fans. You should watch it. Yes, Richard's a fun actor. He seems to have his head on well. But Andor, I can't talk enough about. I feel I'll have a new shirt in the next couple of weeks on the show that I think you're going to be seeing around because I think it's such a buzzy, cool shirt, and I had to buy it. So anyway, Radcliffe as Wolverine. I think he has too much baggage. I think the Harry Potter baggage is a little too much for him.
Isn't he kind of skinny?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Wolverine is
about him yell Expelliarmus. I mean,
the guy's like 130 pounds, so good
we have a Wolverine in the comics. Wolverine in the comics is small. Like
yeah, but
Hugh
he's
Jackman,
muscular. I mean,
yeah, he's jacked. I haven't watched anything Star Wars since Solo. No reason why, just behind La Vela. I can't recommend Rogue One and Andor enough all together, and then you can watch season 1 of Andor, season 2 of Andor, Rogue One, and then New Hope, and it's about as perfect a 19-hour block of Star Wars that you're ever going to get. And then you watch Empire the next day because you want to feel good about yourself.
19 hours, then wait.
Then Empire, yes.
Yeah,
I have no problem with this. Don't fight me on this. Actually, it's not. Well, wait.
I couldn't sit there for 19 hours to watch.
Well, I'm just saying when it's pieced together, the entire first season of Andor, season 2 of Andor, and Rogue One are a perfect prequel to A New Hope. They're perfect. I can't explain it.
But you can't watch. You can't just watch it all straight for 19 hours.
Why couldn't you? So I sat in a theater and watched all the fucking Hobbit movies in a theater, and it was awful because the Hobbit movies weren't that great. So this is at least great and worth your time. Okay.
And Jerry, you go back to your comment about Wolverine. I remember in the 90s when they were talking about an X-Men movie, it was always rumored that Glenn Danzig was going to be Wolverine.
I remember that.
The two that are getting buzz, like Raven had said, are Daniel Radcliffe and Taron Egerton, right? The kid from the Kingsman, right? That kid is getting a lot of buzz. He also played not I want to say Billy Joe, not Billy Joe, but can't think of his name. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Who is that? Can't think of his name. getting old. Who wrote Goodbye Yellow Brick Road?
Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Somebody in the comments help me. Not Billy Joel. Yeah, Zac Efron, maybe. I don't know. I think Zac Efron's too old. I think they're going to go super young. Elton John. It's Elton John. I couldn't think of it. But Egerton played Elton John. He played the Kingsman, played Eggy. He's rumored, but I think some of these people are too old. They're going very young for the X-Men, it looks like. We would be remiss also to not talk about the Buffy reboot. And this is a fun one for me. Sarah Michelle Gellar did a quick thing where the person that got the role is a young girl, a young girl from Skeleton Crew, the recent Star Wars show Skeleton Crew about the kids that steal a ship. And she just got cast opposite Sarah Michelle Gellar in a great video that you have to see to be believed, where Sarah Michelle Gellar called her and told her that she got the lead in the new Buffy reboot. And it's absolutely amazing. She's crying. This is what she looks like. She's the new lead. And she is really good on Skeleton Crew. And she is also she's an up and coming actress. Her name's Ryan Kiera Armstrong. And this Buffy reboot is starting to get kind of serious, super serious. The quote from Gellar: "From the moment I saw Ryan's audition, I knew there was only one girl that I wanted by my side. To have that kind of emotional intelligence and talent at such a young age is truly a gift. The bonus is that her smile lights even the darkest of rooms." She was on Skeleton Crew, and she was in the Firestarter remake. So she's the new Slayer, the new chosen one for the upcoming reboot. That's super exciting. I think that has potential to be really good. I don't know if it's going to be, but I think it's something to get excited about. It's a reboot to get excited about because Sarah Michelle Gellar and a lot of the original cast are getting involved. So, what else we got? Let's go to Jerry. Let's before we preview what's coming out this week, although we've already talked about it a little bit. What's coming from your basement, Jerry?
All right. This week, Edge of Sanity. Anthony Perkins hasn't been himself lately. Double the terror, double the fun. And I'll tell you what, Jerry, first off, Anthony Perkins had such a rough time after Psycho in his career, getting out from underneath it, right? And I just think it's such an interesting take on a movie, but it's also late 80s. It came out in 89. It's a slasher film. It's directed by, I don't want to get this wrong, Gerard Kikoin. It stars Anthony Perkins, and basically it kind of streamlines two things. I would love seeing it both Allison Hannigan, but I think it's been given that one person. Elizabeth Dushku would be a great cameo. Also, Charisma Carpenter getting a chance to come back for Buffy would be great. But Anthony Hopkins had such a tough time. And what I want to say is this has both, it's a good little slasher. It's a fun little slasher, but it combines elements of Robert Louis Stevenson, right? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And then it completely combines that with Jack the Ripper. For some reason, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah, he basically does coke and he turns into Hyde.
Coke and anesthetic in Whitechapel in the 1890s. And also the interesting thing here is it's such a weird movie, but it's also it's for an 80s movie. It's got a lot of kink, fetish stuff.
Yep.
BDSM, it's got a lot of shit going on, because basically the way it sets up is he basically is killing people
by seducing them into a hotel room and then giving them the anesthetic, and it kind of makes them kill themselves. So he doesn't feel bad about it.
And this was pretty hard to find back in the day after.
It was like one copy at Blockbuster.
Yeah, it wasn't very mainstream.
The colleges.
This is on YouTube, but it's tricky to find even on YouTube, but it's on there because
it's got a perverse thing going on. There's a lot of smut in it.
I don't even know how I landed this VHS. I got it somewhere years ago, but
the reception for it in '89, Vincent Canby of the New York Times. Perkins gives a good, funny, of somewhat lopsided performance as the madman of medicine. TV Guide reviewed it, giving 1 out of 4 stars. Edge of Sanity obviously isn't meant to be taken seriously despite its expensive production values and surrealistic photography. Both surprisingly good, but the rest of Edge of Sanity is shot mostly in Budapest with some English exteriors, doesn't measure up to its technical proficiency. Leonard Maltin described it as tasteless, pointless, and unpleasant.
It's got some good gore in it, though.
It has some good gore. It also has like a decent amount of 80s smut, like boobies and all kinds of fun stuff there, which can't really go wrong. And it has high production values.
But he already knows how to be psycho, so it works.
Right. Well, and the other it's got a perverse kind of charm to it that's wild and wacky in its own way. What I would also say is this movie, Edge of Sanity, if you're looking for, Anthony Perkins' story about his life is really interesting because he never got out of playing Norman Bates. So
right.
In '83 we get Psycho 2.
And I like
Psycho
2
and 3 are both decent movies for the amount of pressure that was put on them. They're obviously not going to be Psycho, but what I would also say is he's also produced the talent he's produced. His son, Osgood Perkins, is a lot of fun right now. He did Longlegs and The Monkey. And so just some way to tie in Edge of Sanity with our current stuff. Awesome.
The Monkey was interesting. It's different.
I do want to talk about quickly before we go on to Twilight Zone. They're doing a Near Dark remake from A24 is breaking into television, and they're picking Near Dark. They got the rights to Near Dark, which is an amazing Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton, vampire Western horror film from the 90s. It's a great movie. It's Catherine Bigelow. Apparently, though, Catherine Bigelow is also producing. So, I would like to. I'm not going to say no to this reboot yet, and I'm also not going to say no because every time a reboot happens, we invariably have people trying to find the original stuff. And if Near Dark gets seen by more people because of a reboot,
so be it. Yeah,
so be it. Let it happen.
That's the hidden gem that needs to be.
That is a great fucking movie, and it's a fantastic vampire movie. But
Hendrickson's in it.
Stylish and it's Western.
Thomerson's in it.
Yeah, it's great. It's really well done, and it's gory and fun, and it's different from almost any other vampire movie I've ever seen. So I recommend it highly. Let's talk Twilight Zone. So we are very close, Jerry. This is episode 21 of season 2. It's episode 57 total. It aired March 24th, 1961. The episode that we are talking about tonight is something called The Prime Mover is the name of the episode. And so opening narration. Portrait of a man who thinks and thereby gets things done. Mr. Jimbo Cobb might be called a prime mover, a talent which has to be seen to be believed. In just a moment, he'll show his friends and you how he keeps both feet on the ground and his head in the Twilight Zone. So this episode is this, it starts out with this guy gambling. Also, really quick cameo in the show. It's the slot machine that was chasing people around in an earlier episode. So it's on a table in this little restaurant, and this guy named Ace he's a degenerate gambler, and he hangs out with his friend Jimbo Cobb. They own this little restaurant, And basically, Ace is a degenerate gambler who has a woman in front of him that he should marry, named Kitty, who works at the restaurant for no wages. Way more beautiful. Jimbo, by the way, is played by Buddy Ebsen, so fantastic. And basically, they're working late one night in the restaurant, and Jimbo's like, "You should ask her to marry you. She's a good woman." And he's like, I'm too broke to ask her to marry me. And there's a car crash outside.
That car crash was awesome.
A car crash was incredible. It's a car crash that the car rolls over several times and hits a transformer. And it's crazy. They run outside, and Ace is like, there's somebody in the car. We need to try to get them out. But the sparks are flying and shooting, and really great. And Jimbo kind of closes his eyes and moves his head, and the car rolls out. And Ace is like, what just happened?
Right.
And so he finds out that Jimbo can move things telekinetically. Although Jimbo gets headaches if he does it too much. And so they go in the back, and he's throwing dice. He eventually, of course, does what any degenerate gambler. Yes.
We got to use this.
We got to use this. Why have you been holding out on me? Why have you been holding out on me, Jimbo? So he takes him to Vegas with Kitty, and they go to Vegas, and they win a ton of fucking money. And it's crazy, and it gets bigger. Kitty leaves. She gets disgusted. We've won so much money. We don't need to do this. Also, just one more time. Also, Ace is not allowing Jimbo to sleep. And Jimbo actually, he keeps on telling him, I'm having headaches. I need to rest. It takes it's amazing. Anyway, so we get to the end. Ace sets up with a big league gambler from Chicago who may or may not be a criminal person. And over a series, he wins a lot of money. And then on the last one, which is all of the money or nothing, Jimbo says, no, I think we should stop. Ace rolls the dice, and he's like, 11. And and they look down, and the gangster looks down, smiles, and Ace has lost all of the money.
I'm not going to lie, and I thought for sure that when that guy came in, that he was going to bring his own psychic. I thought that was coming.
That would have been cool. I
thought
both kind of
for a minute. I'm like, he's going to have his own guy.
That would have been incredible. That would have been incredible, Jerry. You just rewrote it. But so basically, they lose all the money. The girl, the Vegas showgirl leaves. All this other stuff. The cigarette girl leaves. And Jimbo and Ace look at each other, and he's like, we still have the restaurant. We can go back, and you still have Kitty.
Yep.
And everything's cool. And they go back. Ace takes the thing out. He asks Kitty to marry him, in which case she flips a coin and acts all coy, but she really loves him. And Ace is happy. And at that point, Jimbo accidentally drops the broom. And as Ace and Kitty are hugging and celebrating their marriage, Jimbo looks down, turns his head, and the broom flies into his hand without Ace.
Short circuit.
Right, he faked the short circuit to save his friendship and to save his friend. And it's really cool. And the closing narration, some people possess talent, others are possessed by it. When that happens, the talent becomes a curse. Jimbo Cobb knew right from the beginning, but before Ace Larson learned that simple truth, he had to take a short trip through the Twilight Zone. So he saves his friend, he saves himself, he saves Kitty. And I had never seen this episode in my life. I've never
seen it either. I thought the car crash was awesome.
The car crash was great, but the whole episode's really good. It's a solid episode of the Twilight Zone that on a rare occasion ends on a happy note. Nobody's being exploited. Kitty and Ace are going to get married and be happy. Jimbo's going to be happy just sweeping up the diner. It's a good episode though, and I had never seen it before.
Slot machine.
And it takes a slot machine out. It's great. So this episode it's episode 21. We are 8 away from finishing season 2. The next episode is called Long Distance Call.
Good one.
And this is one of them. This is one of the big ones. This is a major one. This is the episode with Billy Mummy.
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space, but also, it's a really great episode with a children's toy and one of the great episodes of Twilight Zone. Not the best with Billy Mummy, but one of the best. Okay, perfect. New movies coming out this week, and we're looking for predictions. Did we get predictions in our results?
I got 3 of them.
Okay,
I got 3 of them, but I think Joe Ridgely did not understand the assignment because there was a 4-day total that was asked for.
Okay,
Joe went with $17 million for Lilo and Stitch on a 4-day total.
No, that's not okay. That's
Joe. Our stalker did not understand the assignment.
Yeah, Joe didn't. That's interesting. That is not even close, Joe. To put in perspective, other remakes or whatever, Lilo and Stitch, the original opening weekend, did 35.2.
Was that a 2-day or a 4-day?
That's a 3-day total. So the original Lilo and Stitch did 35.2, and that was in 99. A long time ago. Maybe not 99, but I'm gonna go. I'll go. What are the other What are the other people saying?
Ken McKern said 60 million.
Oof, that's super low.
And then Missy went super high with 181 million.
That's too high
on a 4-day.
I'm gonna go.
Well,
I'm gonna go 155. Because we're doing Price's Right rules, right?
that's not what was explained.
We're not doing Price's Right rules, at or below.
You got it.
It wasn't asked that way in the beginning, so
okay. But 17, we know is not going to win.
No. So Joe's $1 Price is Right bid does not count.
Well.
But
I think it's somewhere in the 40s or 50s.
Missy B 123 mil. Ken, I said you at 60 million for a 4-day. Ken,
that's super low. It's gonna have that
133.
133. Jerry has spoken. Now, that being said, it could, over the 4-day weekend, the Memorial Day weekend, it could hit 175 to 200. I think 181 is too high, though. But I'll go 155 because I think that's about right. Mission Impossible is a tougher egg to crack. But if Mission Impossible is as good as everybody's saying it is, I could see it at 100 million.
His movies usually do pretty well.
His movies do very well. I could see it 100 million. I anything over 90, I'm going to be honest with you, would be a major success against Lilo and Stitch with a 2-hour and 49-minute running time. So I'll say 90 by the end of the weekend, anywhere from 90 to 100 million. I'll go 90. Let's go 95. I like the middle of things. Let's say 95. And I think it's going to be a great weekend for everything involved. 120 and 140 for the 3-day.
Right.
Remember, we have a holiday this weekend. 120 and 140 for the 3-day. 135 to 165 is where it's coming in at for the whatever. I'm going high. I'll go high end for it.
In the Northeast here, it's supposed to rain from Wednesday until Sunday morning. So I think by Saturday, parents are going to be dragging their kids out.
We're supposed to play outside on Saturday.
we got a call from one of Kelly's family members who said the weather up there is so bad that
it's just miserable. It's cold,
and it's May 20th. I don't understand. 112 from Raven. I'll stick with my 155. I'll go 100. I'll go 95 for Mission Impossible. I think the 3-hour running time is going to hurt it. Also, it has to split
Hours.
major screens. It has to split like the IMAX or the Dolby or the 40X or whatever. Like it has to split the screens with Lilo and Stitch. So there we have. Has there been new lid movies put recent? How much weed? I'm asking. I don't understand. What do you understand what that means?
No.
Raven, can you rewrite it? I'd be happy to answer it before we go tonight.
Hey man, I got a couple of lids.
Oh, mine is supposed to be 121, not 112. Sorry. Okay, 121's fine. I think that's
Mission Impossible.
That's on the low end. I'll take 95 for Mission Impossible, 155 for Stitch, because there hasn't been any kids movies since Minecraft, so I think there's a need for it. What else? And also, I think, and this is a true statement.
Go.
I think when they do the live action remakes, they have to be movies from the 90s plus. It has to be 90s forward. They can't do like Snow White. They can't. Although some of them hit well, all of the ones that are where parents can take their kids of movies they saw when they were younger, live action. Is the way to go.
Joe got it. That's right, Joe.
Okay. Last two things. Let's see. Last two things. I want to talk about. There was a screening this past week. There is going to be a screening actually in Los Angeles of the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. It's supposed to type in wet nails, no worries. It's supposed to be 3 hours. It changes the movie. It makes Two-Face the main villain, not the Riddler. It changes a lot of things. Has about an additional 30 minutes of footage. Kevin Smith has already seen it, and he says it makes Batman Forever way good. Like, it puts it in line with Batman Returns and Batman. So keep an eye out of the next shoe to drop on this. It's playing in Los Angeles, but it's not playing. There hasn't been any decision on it. And basically it's all from a, it's an interesting thing. Even though the movie was a box office success, it was, because it was a Joel Schumacher film, it got really ripped up for being campy and different tone, and it divided fans. But this one is supposed to be darker, deals more with Batman and his storyline, Batman and Chase Meridian working things out. And at some point, he also loses his memory, so he doesn't know that he's Batman. So there's a whole different movie within this director's cut of a movie that did pretty well at the box office, but wasn't widely regarded as being as good as Batman Returns or Batman, right? So I want to keep everybody up on it. May 29th, we'll see what happens with people who see it in LA, and we'll see if maybe there's more of a groundswell to get it released. Especially since we've had groundswells recently with DCU stuff, like the Justice League director's cut and all that other garbage that happened. But just something to think about. I want to keep you abreast in case it somehow, makes its way out and we get to see it. So anyway, Jerry, what do you got going on? You got a live performance this weekend?
Yeah, outside in the rain, most likely.
Should be good. That's good for mosh pits.
It's good for mud pits.
Where are you going to be at, and is there a website for tickets or anything where we can direct people?
I don't know how he's selling tickets, to be honest.
Awesome. That's
it's going to be at
for
North Scranton Vikings Field, it's up next to the Expressway. It's like a junior football field.
Very interesting.
It's comedians, bands, wrestling matches all day long. It
should be fantastic considering you're going to have like 40-degree weather and rain.
Yeah,
Kyle, what about you? What do you got going on? What's going on with Sweet Translucent Dreams or Rocky Horror? Anything?
June 14th at the Emmaus Theater. June 21st at the Pocono Cinema. Both of
Okay.
them be Pride shows, both of them. I know Emmaus, I already got a guy submitted a short film that we're going to show beforehand.
Nice.
If any filmmakers out there got a short film that can come out to the Pocono Cinema looking for a short film to put on the screen beforehand,
Where can people contact you about short
We're gonna have
films?
to make a movie.
they can just contact me here on the Indie Escape Network, of course. Send us a message here. They can send me a message on the Sweet Translucent Dreams Facebook page that's in the links. Anywhere.
Cool. Excellent. And I will be doing what I normally do. Chama's Gumlink is going to get ooh, you're getting a note. That's a note from the Grand Poobah. I of course will be back next week with my two good friends Jerry and Kyle, and we'll be talking all kinds of cool things. Generation Movie also will be back next week with Rich. We are continuing our deep dive into Mission Impossible. We've moved on to the next set of movies, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which I think is the real starting point for a great batch of movies and the general where the franchise is at for the big opening weekend of Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise.
I've been watching those
They're really good.
over the last week because I know you guys are talking about them. So I'm like, well, let me watch these.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, 3 is good. 4 is where it takes off. I did watch it. I'm almost all caught up because I want to make sure I see all of them before we get to the end. Right. Final Reckoning. I have Rogue Nation, and I don't have Rogue Nation. I have Fallout, and I have the Dead Reckoning Part 1 left. So, but
I just watched
Rogue Nation, and Ghost Protocol are fantastic. Like, they are really good. And I'm looking forward to this. Thank you for joining us. Also, expect a review of Mission Impossible sometime on Friday from Generation Movie Crew, possibly me and Rich. I don't know. But I'm not gonna be able to see it until probably Friday because we have some family commitments we have to do. So I'm missing out on my usual Thursday movie-thon. So I have to
try and see Lilo and Stitch at 5:00 on Thursday.
Nice. Are you seeing both? Are you seeing Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible?
I'm seeing Lilo and Stitch on Thursday at 5:00.
Thursday's my band.
So wait, do you not like Mission Impossible? This is terrible. Anyway, good night, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see everybody next week. Bye.